The passage of Terumah understands that no tabernacle, ark, or temple can contain Yahweh, as is apparent from his statement. Visha Kanti de Takamum. Dwell in them. Exodus 25:8. Yahweh dwells not in it, but in them, as if to teach that building sacred space for Yahweh allows Yahweh to enter the people, his real dwelling place. So who is the Ark of the Covenant? The Ark is a type of Yahweh's throne. I was in the Spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven with someone sitting on it. And the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and ruby. A rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. In the center, around the throne, were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had the face of a man, and the fourth was like a flying eagle. Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings and was covered with eyes all around, even under its wings. Revelations 4, 2-8. Then Yahweh's sanctuary in heaven was open, and within his sanctuary was seen the Ark of the Covenant. And there became flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder, an earthquake, and severe hailstorm. Revelations 11:19. The Ark is the type of Yahweh's throne. From the throne came flashings of lightnings and rumblings and peals of thunder. In front of the throne, 7 lamps were blazing. These are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. Revelations 4 and 5. So this appearance of the throne, the way the throne looks in heaven, looks exactly like what the Ark of the Covenant does on the earth. So that when the heavens opened up and they could see into the throne room, they saw the throne and they identified it as the Ark of the Covenant. The one in the midst or beyond the throne is the mediator of the new covenant. Also in front of the throne, there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. In the center around the throne were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had the face of a man, the fourth was like a flying eagle. Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings and was covered with eyes all around, even under its wings. Day and night they never stopped saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the sovereign Yahweh Almighty, who was and who is to come." Revelations 4, 6-8. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne as the appearance of a sapphire stone, says Ezekiel 1:26. Before this verse he said, "We find the words. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings like the noise of great waters, like the voice of the Almighty." In Ezekiel 1:24. These are the 4 sacred and mighty beings called Kalyot, or living creatures, by whom the firmament is upheld and whose wings are usually joined together to cover their bodies. When, however, they spread out their wings, a volume of sound swells forth, and they break out into song as the voice of the Almighty, which never becomes silent, as it is written, "So that my glory may sing praise to thee and not be silent." So this description in the Zohar is exactly what we see in the Revelation, which is also what we find in Ezekiel. The 4 living creatures. I heard a voice from heaven, like the roar of rushing waters, and like a loud peal of thunder, says Revelations 14:2. The word of Yahweh came to Ezekiel ben Buzi, Kahani, by the Kibar River in the land of the Babylonians. So Ezekiel is in a concentration camp on the banks of the Kibar or Euphrates River, when he suddenly, you'd think, here he is at the lowest ebb. Yahweh wouldn't give him any revelation while he's in a concentration camp. Yes, he did. There the hand of Yahweh was on me. I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the light looked like glowing metal, and in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. Ezekiel 1:3-5. These were the living creatures I had seen beneath the Elohim of Israel by the Kibar River, and I realized that they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and 4 wings, and under their wings was what looked like human hands. Their faces had the same appearance as those I had seen by the Kibar River. Each one straight ahead. Ezekiel 10:20-22. Rabbi Yohanan's vision is similar to that of Ezekiel with an interesting variation. Rabbi Yohanan shows the creatures as having 6 wings and Ezekiel's as having 4. Rabbi Yohanan is not alone in this difference. Isaiah also recorded these same beings as having 6 wings. Seraphs are standing above it. 6 wings hath each one, with 2 each covers his face, with 2 each covers his feet, and with 2 each flies. Isaiah 6:2. Now going to the Talmud, we find this quote, and I quote, one verse says, each one had 6 wings. The other says, and every one had 4 faces, and every one of them had 4 wings. There's no contradiction. The one refers to a time when the temple was no longer standing, when, as it were, the wings of the living creatures were diminished. Which of them was taken away? Rabbi Hananiel said that Rav said, those with which they utter song. For it is written, and with twain he did fly. And one called to another and said, and elsewhere it is written, wilt thou set thy eyes upon it? It is gone. But our rabbi said, those with which they cover their feet, for it is said, and their feet were straight feet. And if these wings had not been taken away, whence could he have known? Perhaps the feet were exposed, and he saw them. For if you do not say so, then from the words, as for the likeness of their faces, they had the face of a man, one might infer. Likewise, that the wings covered them were taken away. They must therefore have been exposed, and he saw them. Similarly here, they were exposed, and he saw them, but how can they be compared? Granted that it is customary to expose one's face before one's master, but it is not customary to expose one's feet before one's master. End of quote. Talmud, Haggadah 13b. Whenever the living creatures give glory, honor, and thanks to him who sits upon the throne and who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne and worships him who lives forever and ever. They lay their crown before the throne and say, you are worthy, Yahweh our Elohim, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they were created and have their being. Revelations 4:9-11. This is what we sang tonight, wasn't it? To him be glory and honor. And so do these 24 elders, 12 chieftains of the house of Israel, and 12 apostles of the Master. The one in the midst, or beyond the throne, is the mediator of the new covenant, as I said. Then I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing at the center of the throne. Revelations 5:6. Well, that's exactly where he should be. He should be mediating as high priest before the mercy seat, shouldn't he? Encircled by the 4 living creatures, says Revelations 5:6. Encircled by the 24 elders, says Revelations 5:6. The lamb, looking as if it had been slain, had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh sent out into all the earth. Revelations 5:6. These are the spirits that go out all over the world, and they report back to Yahweh. And what are they saying? Blessed is he who was, who is, and who is to come. Amen. But don't leave it there. We too will be brought into the throne room. To him who overcomes, according to Revelations 3:21, to him who overcomes I will grant to sit with me in my throne. He who endures to the end shall be saved, Matthew 24:13 says. And even as I also overcame and have sat down with my Father in his throne. And they sang a new song, saying, you are worthy to take the scroll, to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to Yahweh by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and have made us kings and priests to our Elohim, and we shall reign upon the earth, says Revelations 5:9-10. So who is the ark? The throne is the mercy seat. But that covering was made possible by the blood of the Lamb. So it is the Lamb sitting upon the throne that is the Ark of the Covenant. So where is the Ark of the Covenant? King David had the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle assembled in Jerusalem. After David was settled in his place, he said to Nathan the prophet, "Here I am living in a palace of cedar, while the ark of the covenant of Yahweh is under a tent." Nathan replied to David, "Whatever you have in mind, do it, for Elohim is with you." That night the word of Elohim came to Nathan, saying, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what Yahweh says, you are not the one to build me a house to dwell in." 1 Chronicles 17:1-4. Did you hear what Nathan said? Nathan